We went down to Buckingham Palace, just on the off chance. And the Queen was taking the corgis out, and we said, anybody at home? She said, yes. I said, we said, we'd like a picture.
And she phoned up them all.
And she phoned them all up, because she can do that.
They all came in minicabs.
You know, they came in minicabs. And
took the picture.
It was lovely.
And then she said, OK, let's split, she said.
Yeah. So we all split, and she went out with the corgis again.
Yeah.
Who did the most work on this book?
In what way?
In the...
About half of them. Oh, no, that's not...
The printers, I should imagine.
Well, actually, the book... How long did it take me, Eric, actually, to write it?
An afternoon.
Yes, it was about an afternoon.
It would have taken the whole day, but it was raining, wasn't it?
Yes, it was raining.
The secret joke.
Oh, there's a secret joke running all the way through the book, which I'm not allowed to tell you.
Yes, because it's a secret.
But if you discover the secret joke, there's a prize.
Yes.
You get a premium bond. Mm. But you've got to discover what this secret joke is.
And the number of the premium bond.
Well, you're fairly safe there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Arsenal. Sorry about that.
Eric, we're actually on hallowed ground, aren't we, here in Luton, as far as you're concerned?
Me, yes. So
would you explain why? Because I know everybody...
Well, Luton Town Football Club, of course, you see, because it's only up the road.
And you're still a regular spectator,
viewer,
are you?
yes. I'm a vice president there, I am, which is very interesting. I used to be a director there. But nowadays I get 1 free seat instead of 4 and no aggravation.
Yeah. They had a streaker there the other day at Luton.
Did they really?
This fella, no clothes on, ran right across the field.
Good Lord.
Police couldn't prosecute.
Why not?
Wasn't enough witnesses.
I've got news for you. You'll never be allowed here again. You realise that, don't you?
Do you know, I heard somebody say the other day that, well, what are Morecambe and Wise doing? I mean, we don't sort of see them particularly at the moment.
That's because we're not on television.
Everybody thinks that if you're not on television, you're not working. But we're working much harder now than what we do when we're on television.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Well, broadcasts like this and things like that, you know.
Talking all this. No, we did some theatre. We've done a lot of one-night stands all over.
We started a new radio series last night.
Mm.
Really?
Yeah.
And
we're promoting the book. I mean, we had all the work with the book. In other words, we've done a little bit of diversity. But we must come back onto television.
And presumably you come back for your Christmas show.
Yeah.
Yes. Would you like to be in it? I mean, have you got lovely legs?
I haven't got lovely legs, but I'm very enthusiastic.
Oh, what else have you got that's lovely, though?
Yes.
I mean, it's got to have something... I mean, enthusiasm is only halfway there.
We can't show your enthusiasm on the... No. I think.
Because we want people to
What
go...
about short legs?
Yes.
Have
you got them?
I've got short legs.
3?
They're not short, fat and hairy, are they, like mine?
No, Ernie, they're not short, fat and hairy, but they're
5
short
in a row,
legs.
it'd be marvellous, that.
Are you open to offers? Are you open to offers?
Absolutely.
But apart from that, what about the Christmas show?
What about the Christmas show?
I'm all for it. Would you come and interview us while we're working?
Oh, no, I'd love to.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, love to do that.
Okay.
But I think you're
But with a comedy machine, you want. You want a comedy machine.
Oh, do I?
Yes, you see.
I'll remember that, a comedy machine.
You can come and interview us, and we'll make the date now. Come round to see us December 26th at the BBC.
Yeah, at the BBC.
And we'll do the interview.
Right, I'll be there.
On the Christmas show.
I'll be there.
Right.
But listen, you're prevaricating, gentlemen, because I want to know...
Don't prevaricate.
I'm sorry about that. I will put my clothes on and go home.
Yeah.
I would like to know whether or not you've got anybody lined up specially for the Christmas show.
No, not at the moment.
Not really.
But we have ideas that we won't mention. But
yes, of course, we want to keep it a surprise. The trouble is, you get a nice idea, and it all sneaks out, and then it really takes the impact away.
Yeah.
There must be a sort of list of people that you would quite like to sort of have on the show.
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone?
Well, you're going to be on the show on the 26th. You're coming round on the 26th.
Well, we want any of the knights of the theatre, if we can get them. Anybody with great success. We need successful people, because we have to puncture them, you see, if we can.
Yes, I mean, this is what is interesting. That I mean, the great sort of surprise value of someone like Glenda is that she's always been known for these heavy, dramatic, introspective parts. And there she was, fooling around, letting her hair down.
Which is what most of them do, and most of them want. As long as the only thing that we ask of them is that they do it seriously, do their part seriously.
But do they ever come back at you and sort of try and make you laugh?
On the first 2 days at rehearsals.
Yes, they do at the beginning.
And as the show gets nearer,
they
go grey and white, and they think they're never going to get the cues. Everything, and they say, you know that joke I was doing? And I say, yes. They say, well, I think you ought to do that because you say you can do it better than me on account of you're in funny costumes.
You see, what's interesting to a viewer is that what comes across in the show is that, in fact, it's all ad-lib, it's all leaping about, it's all, oh, I've suddenly thought of a joke, I'll put it in. Is that not right?
Well, it is reasonably like that. I mean, a lot of it isn't that ad-lib, but sometimes the joke that was thought of at rehearsal that's been cut out suddenly pops up in the show, and because we have about 6 or 7 different varieties of the script.
Of the same joke?
Of the same. But, no, really, what you're talking about is the... it's so movable, the whole thing. We're not set to script, because Eric and I could never learn set dialogue.
No, it's impossible.
We always put everything into our way of saying it.
And that's why we could never play serious parts.
No,
we could only play ourselves. We could only be ourselves. You know, that's the thing.
Sometimes I'll do a different tag to a joke that he knows.
Yes.
And, you know.
Yeah. I wonder if it's too early to wish you all a very happy Christmas.
Oh, not at all.
No, not at all.
Thank you very much.
And we'd like to wish everybody a happy Christmas.
A Merry Christmas and a very happy New Year as well.
Wonderful.
Isn't that nice?
He looks like half a pint of milk.
What do you think?
No good. No chance.
No chance
Look
at
at
all.
the colour of his hair.
Have you ever seen him like that before?
Never seen him strip like that.
Come as
Never
a
seen
shock
him
to you?
strip. Yes.
What about the legs?
Well, they were jokes originally, but they are for real.
But they are, aren't they?
They are for real.
Short, fat and hairy.
Yes. And you can't see the joint from here. You can see the dandruff, but you can't see the joint.
You're not going to join him then?
No, I shouldn't think so. No, it's too easy. Look at that.
You're such a star squash player, you'd show
Oh,
him.
he's got no chance against me. He's swimming tonight, you know.
I thought it was the Commons versus the Lords, actually, not
Yes,
him.
well, he is. You can't get any more common than that.
He's the common element.
Well, of course, look. See that there? He plays tennis, you know.
Well, I was going to say, what kind of a shot do you call that?
Terrible. That one. That was terrible. And that's no better. That's very good. He enjoys his game, though.
Bit of a goer.
Yes. That's what I'm told. He's got no children. Can't be much of a goer, can he?
You just come along to watch, though, yourself, have you?
Well, no, I've come to have a laugh at him.
I didn't know he was going to be playing, though.
No,
squash.
he didn't either. That's why he's down there in full evening dress. Tails, the OBE. I don't know how he does it. And the coronet. That's the part that worries me.
Eric Morecambe, thanks a lot.
And my guest today is Ernie Wise. Ernie, let's go back to the beginning, your childhood. Where were you born?
I was born in, a place called Water Street in Armley, Leeds. That's my first memories. My first memory is when I was about 5 or 6 years of age, maybe less than that, 4. I remember 2 things. Somebody driving a big limousine down the street, and I had a ride in the back of it. I remember that, scrambling into it. And I also remember somebody having a motorcycle accident, and my father was in the St. John's ambulance, and I can see this lady with this very damaged knee, and my father was fixing it. Those are my 2 early memories.
Do you have fond memories of your childhood?
Yes, I didn't like school, though.
Why?
Because I didn't like people shouting at me. I didn't really like the authority. I didn't like the school teachers. I'm one of those people that I'm very easygoing, and I go along, and I don't get very upset. But if I get pushed a bit too hard, I become very bolshy then, and then I become stubborn, and I won't do anything.
You're a rebel, are you?
I am deep down, yeah, but it takes me a long time to get like that. I'm very easygoing, so watch it.
Ernie, over the next hour or so, we're going to play some of your favourite music.
Yes.
What type of music appeals to you?
Well, I've only liked one music all my life, and I still like the same music, and that is the big band music. I don't really like anything else, particularly American music, I'm sorry to say, but because I really like to like English music more. Jazz, I'm talking about, big band jazz. But really, the American music catches my imagination at all time. But I did start out with a famous English band, which your older listeners would know, which is Jack Hilton. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Absolutely. What was it then about the big bands of Jack Hilton's era?
Well, I just like any large orchestra. I don't mind the straight stuff as well. I think it is the most magnificent thing in the world. To me, it's a miracle of human ingenuity that they can, first of all, make all those beautiful gleaming instruments in whatever the metal is, and all the violins and the wood and the string, or the catgut, or whatever you call it, and this marvellous orchestra plays this wonderful music that's written down in dots, and the communication of it. I think the arrangers are absolutely brilliant. I used to work with a man years ago. Well, I've worked with a lot of good people, a man called Freddie Bretherton and Peter Knight of today, Arthur Wilkinson. And when I see those fellas, I think they are brilliant. They get a big piece of music,
and then they write down every instrument. And that sound, when you go to the recording studio, comes out like magic. Now, when you think that's all in his head, I think that's a miracle. And I think everybody playing together, like 16 or 20 or maybe 35, playing in one vast orchestra, I think is magic.
Can you play anything?
No, I just tinkle a little bit on the piano, that's all. And my mother plays the piano, and I have a very big leaning towards music. And I think that's my greatest disappointment, that when I was a kid, my mother played the piano, and I was put to the piano. And the lessons in those days were about £1 per lesson. And I had the initial basic music, but I was never kept at it. In other words, we really couldn't afford the cost of the lessons, and also I think the practicing drove my father bananas, because one had to do the scales up and down, for hours and hours.
Would you then like to have followed perhaps a musical career?
Yes, I would very much. I would be very happy to have been an arranger. I would love to have been, I'd be clever enough to arrange music and play a beautiful piano. I envy Dudley Moore. I think he plays beautiful jazz piano. I would love to do that.
Ernie, let's have your first choice of music.
Well, as I said, I started with Jack Hilton, so if I could have a record by Jack Hilton, I would like anything by Jack Hilton.
And my guest is Ernie Wise. Ernie, let's come a bit more up to date. You left school. Did you have any ideas of show business then?
Oh, yes. I was in show business right from the beginning. When I was about 7, I sound like a record, don't I? It's all coming out now. I do an enormous amount of recalling now, and I'm quite astonished the amount of good recall I've got. I can remember enormously things way back. In those early days, I used to do a double act with my father. We were very poor, and we lived in, well, as I say, I was born in Wardour Street. Then we went to East Ardsley, which is near Wakefield, and then we went, that isn't there anymore, the actual house. Then we went to live in Leeds, in 17 Oxley Street, Leeds. And we were not very well off. My father worked on the railway, didn't earn a lot of money, and to augment our money, to keep the family, because there were 7 of us, we used to do the clubs every week. And we used to go to the working men's clubs, the liberal clubs, the labour clubs, the Conservative, all the different type of clubs, engineering clubs. And I used to do a turn with my dad.
What sort of turn?
Oh, a double act. We were called Carson and Kidd, and we were called the Two Tetleys. And actually, I was underage. I was only 9 years, 10 years of age. And I used to do my little clog dance on the oilcloth in the corner of the room. And my father used to take me to the clubs. We used to go Saturday night, Sunday dinner time and night. And that would earn us £3.10 or £3.50 today, which was very good. And that helped to augment everything. And I used to dance on the stage, and the people used to throw pennies onto the stage. I used to pick them up.
What were the audiences like then in those
clubs? Very good, very receptive. They were to me. I was also called Bert Carson, his little wonder. I was a little wonder, I was. I used to wear a sort of cut-down morning suit with a little bowler hat and a little tash, and I used to tell jokes, and I used to sing songs. Happened on the beach at Bally and Winter Wonderland, and I used to dance in my clogs. I only had 3 steps.
Ernie, back when you were 9 or 10, did you ever have the idea that one day you would become the very popular and, well, an institution?
Famous comedian. My mother and father did. I think my mother and father more than me, particularly my father. They used to watch all the Hollywood pictures, and they used to see all those, really Shirley Temple and people like that. And I think they had some secret idea, like they do up north, of me becoming some famous film star in Hollywood, thinking I'd only got to be seen and I would be immediately snapped up. It really is the impossible dream.
Did they push you?
Well, only on the clubs, yes. I really wasn't asked. Somebody asked me that before, and they said, did you have any option? I said, no, I never thought about that. I just did it. You did as you were told in those days. And you just went along there and performed.
You said there were 7 of you in the family.
Yes.
What about brothers and sisters? Did they ever have the same idea as you?
Well, I was the one-off, really. My mother being a pianist, passed on... my sister plays the piano, and she's very bright. My other sister sang a bit. My brother tried to sing a bit, but in the long run, none of them had the following that whatever I had. Whatever it was, I had it. And all it was when you add it up, and I've still no more than that, I'm just a song and dance man. Really, I just come on and I can sing a song and I can do a dance and I can give it a bit of personality, which is what my father could do. And that sums it up, really.
You're also marvellous at timing, aren't you?
Well, over the years, one learns timing with the jokes and everything, yeah. But we were never stand-up comedians, Eric and I, in a sense. We used to do situations and lines, but we never actually stood there and told jokes like they do today. You know, did you hear the one about? It would be fitted into a situation.
As a song and dance man, a song and dance man is unfortunately almost a thing of the past. You've said about that.
Well, I don't think it is a thing of the past. I think it's coming back enormously. I think people, when they look at somebody who tells jokes, they don't think that's talent. They think anybody can tell a joke. I think they consider singing and dancing and playing a musical instrument is talent. And I still think there's a lot of them about. I mean, look at Wayne Sleep and people, they're really coming to the fore. And look at all the big American musicals, particularly in America. I mean, the musicals are wonderful. Look at the success of West Side Story. Look at the success of 42nd Street. And what is it? Purely tap dancing and singing and all that.
Ernie, you said just now that you'd like to be a musician. If you could start your career again, forgetting the sort of musician side of it, would you have liked to have been purely a song and dance man?
Yes, yeah. Before I joined up, well, I would call myself a song and dance light comedian. They were quite the style in those days. They used to be the leading man years ago, the sort of Jack Buchanan type. So he was sort of had an amusing, sort of jokey situation, plus he's singing and dancing. A lot of those people in those days were the leads. The accent has changed now. The comedian is usually the star, or the singer. If you remember, we had an enormous amount of singing stars. And of course, way back in 1939, we had thousands of double acts. People forget that. There was a lot of double acts. There was the Clapham and Dwyers, and there was the Lowe and Websters. And
Jewel and Morris, wasn't it?
Jewel and Morris was the big one, yes. Jewel and Morris. Of course, brought to the front by radio. Then they went on to TV, you see.
Annie, let's go back to music again. What's your second choice?
Well, my second choice is the first record I ever bought. And I remember it cost 2 shillings. I remember, because a friend of mine got it for me, and it was Glenn Miller's Pennsylvania 65000.
Ernie, you've been given lots of awards. You've got the OBE, and you've won several other awards. What does that actually mean to you?
Well, I'm very proud to have the OBE. The late Dame Flora Robson said, always be proud of it, and don't put it down in any way. But I'm never really conscious of having it. In other words, although I've got it, I don't use it. I mean, I wouldn't think of putting OBE at the end of my name. I just put my name.
As well as the OBE, you've had several other awards, BAFTA, for instance, and things
yes,
like
we've
that.
had a couple of BAFTA awards, and actually the first one we ever got was the day Kennedy was shot. So I always remember that. Yes.
What things in your career have appealed to you most?
I think the musical numbers. I think all the musical numbers that we did in the shows, that was again, coming back to the old original song and dance man. I think I'm still on the way to Hollywood, you see. Still am. People laugh and they think it's funny, but I'm still on the way to Hollywood, and I still live in the days of Singing in the Rain and all that big show. I was sold completely on the Hollywood dream, and I still have it. And I went to Hollywood recently, and I stayed at a hotel called the Bel Air, which was a lovely spot. And I also went to see where the Garden of Allah was. Not many people would know about this, but years ago in the early days of films, there was a woman called Nazimova, and she started this sort of cottage colony, and it was called the Garden of Allah, and all the famous, particularly Robert Benchley and people like that stayed there, and all the big stars. And it was a circle of bungalows with a swimming pool, and goodness knows what went on there. I should think everything went on.
Only here we are, sitting in your summer house, attached to your house, in Maidenhead, completely down to earth. Isn't that a very unreal world, though, the one that you were talking about in Hollywood?
Yes, of course it is. But I also like this. You see, I'm lucky because I like my home. I would miss my home very much. I find it's the one... I'm quite aware of the dividing line between the two, the saneness of being home and what I enjoy, like making the tea in the morning and reading the morning papers and leisurely getting up and listening to the radio. And all the ordinary things and going in the garden, all the ordinary things that everybody else enjoys. And then there is this wonderful fantasy of show business. And I love to be doing musical numbers on the set, coming down the stairs, dancing and appearing with lovely people. And that is a great moment for me. The hardest part is doing the dialogue, which is hard to remember, hard to learn, difficult to time. That's the hard part. The rest of it comes easy.
What you're saying really then, that you love a fantasy world?
Yes, I have got my little... I'm a romantic, yes.
Why do you love it?
I don't know. I play the old music.
Do you dislike reality?
No, I'm well aware... Well, I'm sure I dislike reality, yes. I think I don't like anything what's going on today. Yes, I probably dislike reality. In the long run, I'm still the romantic fool, shall we say. The days of the tap dancing people, of the Fred Astaire's and the Gene Kellys, and people looking across a crowded room and falling in love, and violins playing, and I still like all that. That's my entertainment.
So really you're looking at the world through rose-coloured glasses?
Yeah, probably am. I probably am, yes. I probably look at people through rose-coloured glasses too. I don't really dislike people. As I said, I told you earlier, I was easygoing, and I am. And people I'm probably a bit too easy. I've always felt like that. I wish I was a little bit more aggressive, possibly, but I'm not.
Do you shut out the nasty side of the world?
Well, I think I've created my own Hollywood here, yes. I think I have. I think I've created my own fantasy. I like lovely things around me, yes. And I like to live in a nice house, and I like a nice car, and I like all those sort of things. I don't like the grotty things. I knew about being poor, so I'm probably pushing that out. I'm always conscious of being poor. I don't want to be poor. And I take very badly to it.
Does that make you very careful with what you do with your wealth?
Absolutely, yes.
You're a careful person?
I am, very much so. I have that reputation, as you know.
Yeah, but that's a joke reputation, really, isn't it?
No. Yes, semi. I'm not mean, as they say, or stingy. I mean, people might disagree, you know. But it's always been a standing joke with everybody. But I am careful the way I spend my money. But I do good things, lots of good things. But I'm always afraid, deep down, of being broke. That's all.
Because of your background?
Because of the background, yes. Well, I found that they say that money doesn't bring happiness, but it certainly helps enormously.
It's better to be miserable with money.
Yes, that's right, than without. Yes, that's true.
Ernie, let's have your third choice.
When we did the Ed Sullivan shows in New York, we obviously used to go over and do the show. We used to do one about every few days because he liked us very much. We used to do one about every 10 days. And it gave me a chance to see the big American bands in person. And one band that was on the show was the Woody Herman Band. And I've always been a big fan of Woody Herman. And I actually went to this bar, which was quite interesting, on Broadway. It's a well-known spot, which I can't remember the name of, but the band, you stood at the bar, and the band played in a line at the back of the bar. They were in a straight line and blasted out. It was, there's nothing like it when they're going full belt. And anything by Woody Herman I would be happy with.
Ernie, you and Eric, as I said just now, were an institution. I mean, there'll never, ever be another pair like you. How did it all start?
Well, I saw Eric give his audition in Manchester at a cinema there. I was with Jack Hilton at the time, and this fella came on, this weedy youth came on, and he was wearing a black beret and a cut-down sort of ascot-type suit with a big pin, holding it together, and a bootlace tie, and a kiss curl, and he had a lollipop, a big lollipop. And I thought, walking about the street like that's ridiculous. But and he did a number called "I'm Not All There." I'm not all there. There's something missing. And then after that, he came on and did a sort of Flanagan and Allen number, where he was he did both of them. With the one, I don't know how he did it, but he did a Flanagan and Allen sort of hometown one, because Alan just did you know, and the other guy did most of the talking, or most of the singing, I should say. And then I didn't see him again until I joined a show called Brian Micker's Discoveries at Swansea, and that's where I met him, and we got on together, and he was smaller than me at the time, and he was with his mother. And then eventually, in Oxford, I didn't have anywhere to stay, and his mother sort of took me under her wing, and we stayed together in digs, and from then on we were sort of together. And she was the one who said we ought to do a double act.
What year was that?
That would be way back in 1941, something like that. The war was on.
And presumably then it was the radio, wasn't it?
Well, we started off on radio from Manchester. Workers' playtimes, really. Started off on a couple of workers' playtimes, then moved on to regular radio from Manchester. Couldn't get down south. I mean, there was a big dividing line there. And we did these radio shows called You're Only Young Once and all sorts of things like that. Didn't get much money. But meanwhile, we were touring in variety as well, in shows, Moss Empires, and we were gradually making a name for ourselves. And we did a season at Blackpool. But we didn't do television until about I think it was something like 1955, something like that.
What would you put down to the fact that you were such a great success, both of you?
We stayed together, you see. I think that's the most important with a double act. We got on well together. We stayed together. And don't forget, we had 43 years, which is a long time. And we copied all the other double acts, really. Watched all the other double acts, mostly American. We were very influenced by Abbott and Costello and Laurel and Hardy. We loved American stuff. We talked in sort of American voices, mid-Atlantic, and copied Abbott and Costello routines, and then gradually your own personality comes out, and you begin to do your own thing. We had a disastrous television series called Running Wild because we didn't realise how important material is. It's the material that matters, and we didn't really make progress in show business. Well, radio, we were doing routines. Literally, the jokes were taken from joke books and strung together until we began to put some of our own humour into it. But Hills and Green were the two. Dick Hills and Green were the two that gave us a start, a proper start on television, which we did for ATV, which were very successful. And the equity strike helped us enormously because we were still in the VAF and we were allowed to work, and we weren't allowed to work with any equity members, so we had to do the show more or less on our own. And that made us do more than we would do normally, and it took off.
How different are you now to you were when you and Ernie Eric started off?
I don't think I'm any different. No, I think I'm the same person. I've not changed in any way. A bit fatter, a bit slower, not as enthusiastic. You know, I lost a bit of enthusiasm now. I'm getting a bit like that. But I'm so eager, you see. I'm very ambitious. I've always been ambitious. I still am an ambitious person. I'm still on the way to Hollywood now. And I hope to go there in January, actually. I've got a date there.
To do what?
To do a show there. I've got to appear in a show, which will be the first time I've really, other than the Ed Sullivans, I've got a part in a show in Los Angeles. Should be interesting.
You made films too, didn't you?
Yes, we made 3 pictures. Actually, there was one on the other day. And I had people coming round. It was called Riviera Touch. And I thought it was the best one we made out of the 3. And it took part on the Riviera. And everybody was saying how good it was. And I watched it, and I thought, you know, we underrated it. It was a beautifully mounted picture, looks £1 million, was a good story, it was exciting. I'd like Eric and I to have been a little bit funnier, just a little bit funnier, but it was a class picture. And I've had people say, well, I heard you didn't do well in pictures, but I was very pleasantly surprised. They watched it, and the kids particularly. Of course, it was at a children's level.
You're saying, Ernie, that the younger people like it. Now, my daughter, who's only 14, watched that movie, and she thought it was absolutely fabulous.
Yes, well, this is what I found, particularly children, 15, 14. And it's clean, you see. You've got to remember that it was absolutely spotless to the point of naivety. I mean, I looked at Eric and I in this, and we were so clean-cut and so frightened to say even a naughty word or suggest it. I mean, we just kissed the girl, and There was very little innuendo in it at all. And I think this is probably a good thing. This is why they've... And I thought it looked $1 million, as they say. And it didn't cost that much money to make, about £350,000. And I thought it was well cast, and we did a lot of shooting in the south of France. And it was... and I did some singing in it, too. Yes, I sang a couple of numbers in it, and somebody said I was taken aback. They couldn't believe I could sing so well.
You said that you loved Abbott and Costello and Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
Would you have liked, with Eric, to have gone along that road of making films like they did?
Absolutely, yes. We wanted to make films, and of course I always wanted again to go to Hollywood, but Eric wasn't terribly keen. He didn't really want to, so we never made that side of the Atlantic sufficiently. We had the knocking at the door, we were. I mean, we were doing the Ed Sullivan shows, and also our series was shown over there, but not to any advantage. They were badly cut.
Ernie, if we sat down in, say, 20 or 30 years' time and watched all the wonderful things you've done on television, do you think we'll still find it funny?
Yes, I think so. I think so, because I've been looking at some of the black and white ones that we did way back in 1961, and they're funny. And... you'd have to take out certain references, of course, of the day. They'd have to be edited a little bit, because you're sometimes talking about people that are dead and things like that. But certainly I think the musical items would stand up. I mean, the version we did of Singing in the Rain, I think, will be just as good in 30 years' time. And Slaughter on 10th Avenue. And definitely the kitchen one, where we were cooking the breakfast to the stripper. I think that stuff will stand up.
When we watch the things that you have wrote,
yeah,
how difficult was it to do those sketches?
Very difficult. They're the hardest part, really, because to keep them going. And I was watching some the other day, and they were very long. I was amazed how long they were, sometimes 12 minutes and 15 minutes. That's one long stint, and that's a long time to be moving the scenes along and peaking them. We were almost making mini-films. We were really trying to make sort of 12-minute mini-films where it started off and we moved somewhere and we went on. That's what we were doing. We were practicing the film business. And they were the hardest part.
You had lots of classical actors and actresses, Shakespearean. Did they sort of fall over themselves to come on your shows?
Well, Peter Cushing was the one that started us off. He was the first one that we got on the show. And as you know, he never got his money. That was the joke. And from then on, the artists began to appear on the shows. We got the Diana Rigg, and we even got to one show. We had the Prime Minister, Harold Wilson. And we had Sir Alec Guinness and Sir Ralph Richardson. So we were very honoured. They were all fascinated by that. I know that Sir Ralph Richardson sometimes didn't know what he was saying, really, when he said, make the tea urn, and it got an enormous laugh. He didn't quite understand that we'd been plugging it for years, and anything with the short, fat, hairy legs and things. I understand his wife used to say to him, yes, it's very funny, they do it on their show, and that's what happened.
Ernie, let's once again go back to music, and what's your fourth choice?
Well, I thought... I'd like something by Bert Camford, because I enjoy his music very much. And we did a routine with Robert Hardy called Bye Bye Blues. And I think I'd like to hear that.
Ernie, you do a lot of charity work, don't you?
Yes. Well, we don't really shout about it, but we have done. One of the biggest things we did was for the Sunshine Coaches, for the Variety Club, and it was in the cinema. And we raised over £1 million with that. And also, we raised over 100,000 with cornflakes, Kellogg's cornflakes, for the blind. I also support my own little charities. I give blood. I support Abbey Fields, the old folks' home, cramming for my finals, I think. And I also give blood, and I'm also just done a video film for Keep Berkshire Tidy with a little dog called Pippin, which I think is very entertaining. It runs about 3 minutes, and it's going to go around all the schools. So I'm also community-minded as well.
You say keep Berkshire tidy. I mean, here we are in this room of yours. Lots of flowers and a lovely garden. Are you a keen gardener?
Well, I'm a reasonable guy. I don't really do much gardening. I just pay the bills. But I have a very good gardener who looks after it. And so does Doreen. She's very interested. I mean, there's an orange tree at the back of me. That's from Florida. And those are real oranges.
Are they really?
And we've had marmalade off it.
Is that really so?
Yes, true. And we had a banana tree here as well. No bananas, but banana tree.
There's also a doll's house in here.
Yes, well, my wife's hobby is making doll's houses. She enjoys it, and she does furnishes them. And she's got about 6 or 7. I think we're going to have to move out. Mind you, I think I could live in one of them. I'm small enough.
Let's go to your next choice, your 5th choice.
Now then, it's very difficult now. I think I'd like... I did a number on the show with Bonnie Langford, and it was called Lady Be Good, and Artie Shaw recorded it.
Ernie, what's for you now? What do you want to do?
Well, at the moment, I have a wide choice of being what they call a senior, not a senior citizen, an elder statesman, I think is the word. It's whether I want to get myself involved too much into shows that would create too much stress factor. If I went to do a West End show and took the responsibility of it, which is possible, I think that might be... So I have to think about that. If I took on a television show where I was involved in sketches, and I'd have to think about that. I have to be careful of that. But I could go for something where I just do a bit of chatting, like I'm doing now. I'm pointing and giving everybody the benefit of my wide knowledge. I wouldn't mind talking about some of the shows that Eric and I did over the years, and a sort of do you remember situation. That's one aspect of it. But I would still like to sing and dance and do comedy sketches. I'd still like to do that. So I've got that lined up too.
What sort of guesting on people's shows?
No, I don't want to do guesting. I want my own show. I've finished with guesting. This year I've done quite a lot of appearing here, interviews and things like that. But I want my own ongoing situation. You know, I feel I'm wandering, just doing bits and pieces. It's all right to keep yourself in front of the public and the interest, but I want to do my own show. And I won't be happy until I am actually either presenting my own show. I mean, it's been suggested like a talent show, that I introduce a lot of new talent, which I do know talent, so I could help in that direction. But I don't want to just keep doing bits and pieces.
Have you enjoyed your bits on quiz shows I've seen you on?
Yes, well, What's My Line I enjoyed very much. I'd be quite happy to do that every week for the next 10 years. It's easy, it's comfortable, and I found that I could, do some good educated guesses.
You said earlier that you're still on your way to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes.
What would you like to see yourself in Hollywood as?
Well, I'm really like to see myself as Mickey Rooney. Well, you remember Mickey Rooney, and I would still like to be appearing in a musical in a Hollywood film. That would be my ultimate ambition.
The White Tie and Tails?
Yes, absolutely. Coming down the stairs with the beautiful girls and tapping and the soft shoe and all that.
Ernie, let's have your final choice of music.
Well, I'm very fond of piano. So I think I'd like something by Errol Garner.
Ernie Wise, thank you for being my guest.
Thank you, Mike.